Art, did you ever work at Lossman Motors?
I worked there. I started there in 1955.
And that's the Lakewood, Ohio dealership?
Yeah, that Webb Road in Detroit in Lakewood. Yeah.
And how long were you there at Lossman?
19 years.
Wow. And what did you do for Lossman?
I was a mechanic and foreman, shop foreman.
And that was obviously selling the oval beetles and selling buses. Did Lossman sell buses?
Trucks, yeah.
And what was their seller? The Beetle?
The Beetle, mostly.
And where did you get them from? Where did they come from? When they came in from Germany? Yeah. Where did you pick them up at? Were they shipped here by?
They were trailered in. Yeah. A lot of them came from Columbus, Midbo, what we call Midbo, Midwestern VW Corporation. So all the cars would come in there first and then go to different dealerships.
How many cars would Lossman get in a week in the 50s, do you think?
Oh, I don't even want to count that.
Oh, that many?
We had a waiting list on the board in the early days. It was maybe 3 feet long. People wanting cars. They paid their $100, and when their car comes in, if they had a preference of color.
Even oval beetles back then were that popular?
Oh, yeah.
And who was buying an oval beetle in the 1950s?
We had a lot of doctors, lawyers, mechanics, accountants, but mostly a lot of professional people.
Instead of buying a big Cadillac, huh?
Yeah.
And how about the buses then? Did they sell a lot of buses? And
sold a lot of buses too.
And Westphalias, campers, or?
Not too many. We sold a few Westphalias, but we sold mostly the Sportmobile. And that was a camper made, the camping equipment was made in Indiana.
Right.
And we would buy a Combi, which is a standard bus with no upholstery in the back. And we have to buy the rear seat because to buy what we call the chicken tax.
Okay, the chicken tax. Okay.
Higher import duty on a commercial vehicle, but with the center seat in, it's a bus. So we take the seat and throw that away, and this man will come from Indiana with a big panel truck, and he'd have enough equipment in there for full top and everything to do maybe 4 vehicles in one day.
And he would come to Lossman and do those?
Yeah, do it right at the dealership.
No, wow, well, that's something else. So people would order that through the dealer, and then
we'd buy them. Well, if they want a camper, we'd do it that way. If they want the Westphalia or a Sportmobile.
So you'd have to pay a lot more for a Westphalia, wouldn't you, because of the tax and the...
Well, that was still not a commercial vehicle.
Okay.
But they were a lot fancier than the Sportmobile.
Gotcha.
I mean, nicer finished and stuff like that. But people just want to go camping and roughing it. The Sportmobile was that.
Now, how about the old double cabs and single cabs, the split windows? Did you sell a lot of those or many of those?
Yeah, we sold a few of those. In fact, I owned a double cab. I used to tow my race car with it. Yeah. Then I had a 21 split seat window sunroof bus. I towed for a year and a half my race car and trailer.
And what kind of race car did you race?
A Formula V.
And did those have Volkswagen motors in them, or
40 horsepower Volkswagen engine?
Okay, and not the 36 horse, but a 40 horse. Right.
And we used a 65 transmission, swing axle transmission, front axle beam, and brakes.
And how fast could you get those cars to run?
I could get my car up to 135 miles an hour.
With a 40 horsepower, and what kind of carburation did you use?
We used a 36 horse carburetor.
The old 28 PCI, or?
Yeah, with the choke. Because that way, the rules state we could do anything with any removable venturi or jet. So with the 36 horse carb had the removable venturi, we just take that out and put one in that was maybe 10,000 thick. And that way I was able to turn, I have my own engine dynamometer, I could turn them 7,500 RPM.
For a little motor like that, huh?
Yeah.
And get them to go that fast. Yeah. Now, what did you think was the most popular motor for Volkswagen when you worked at Lossman? What was you thought was their best motor?
I think the 40 horse was popular, yeah. It was good. And then the 15 and 1600 was also good. Yeah.
And what do you think? Did you have much experience with those bastard motors when you were at Lossman Motors? Those so-called 36 horsepower motors that had the weird engine parts or something to them? They used to call them bastard motors or something. They were right before the 40 horsepower where I think, didn't the dealers call them back and take them all out or something?
Well, that was an interim engine. And it was only in the buses. and trucks. And what they were doing, they were tying, taking the end plate from the center main bearing, like most inline engines did at that time. And what was happening is that in the machining process, it would gouge the bearing and the end plate would be excessive, right off the assembly line. In fact,
So
you could
that
hear-
was a problem, huh?
Yeah. So when they found out what the problem was in the machining operation with the magnesium case, they stopped building them and recalled all the parts.
Now, what did you think of the old 36 horsepower motors? I have a few of those, and I still run them, and I like them, but
That was a good engine. That was a really good engine. In fact, we used to tow. I raced a 51 Porsche 356, and we used to tow it to the races with a 56 Beetle with 36 horsepower.
yeah, they're
So,
they're amazing little motors, and it's kind of fun to still drive. But the 40 horse is probably the workhorse in the area you worked there.
yeah.
And they were in all the Beetles, right? And did
Buses and everything.
they put them in buses too? Yeah. And now all those cars of that era were still 6-volt.
6-volt up until 67.
And did you race when you raced 12-volt? I'm going to assume. Did you or
Well,
no?
first we had to use 6-volt. Then they changed the rules where we could go 12-volt. Yeah. And we didn't run a generator. We just run a 12-volt battery, either a motorcycle battery or a lawnmower battery.
Oh, you didn't have a generator in the car?
No.
You just ran it and.
Yeah, it started went all. Sometimes you have to start it maybe 8 or 10 times during the weekend. And it did it, no trouble at all. Yeah.
But you probably went through a lot of batteries, didn't you? Or you just had to recharge them, or?
No, just take them home and put it on a trickle charger until the next race. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
You
Yeah,
use the battery for 2 or 3 years.
that's great. So when did Lossman go? Do you remember when they went out of business as a dealership, or?
I don't know him exactly.
You were gone then before
I
they.
was gone. I left in '73. Yeah.
So you left right before the water cooled cars came in.
Yeah. They were just getting ready to come with the ladders and stuff.
And what did you think of those end of the production year air cooleds, the Beetles of '73 and that? Were they were getting a little complicated, weren't they?
No, what they did, they started the emissions about that time. And the first thing they did, they came up with a dual port engine. But then they did a stupid thing. They lowered the compression ratio. So you had better breathing, but to what? So I prefer the single port engine. Yeah.
So is that what you prefer still today? Single port
I like
engines?
Single port engine.
Right. Yeah, I that's all I have too. So I don't know enough about them, but I seem to like them. So.
And the dual port, there's a certain year where they had the higher compression, but most of them were all. So you could remachine the head. They had a raised surface in the head to lower the compression ratio, and you could machine that out, and then you have a decent engine again.
Now, were you around when they had the thing, when they brought the thing in?
Yeah.
That was in '73, I think, or around that time period?
About that.
Yeah, and did Lossman sell any of those, do you know? Or
Yeah, we sold everything.
now, was that a family-owned dealership, Lossman?
yeah.
Was there a Mr. Lossman, or
That's all, just Bob Lawson.
and whatever happened to him?
He just died.
Yeah, well, that happens to all of us. Yeah, but did he die before the dealership went away, or did he?
Yes.
Oh, he did. Okay, so.
And then Julie Lossman, she was taking it over, and then she did some poor judgment in new management, and they just robbed them blind.
Now, we were talking earlier, the body shop is still there.
Yeah, but it's not Lossman.
It's not Lossman,
it's still
but
the same name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the family doesn't own it right
No.
now. Right. And it must have been an interesting experience working at a dealership like that. And
Well, it was when we go to Putin Bay to the road races up in Putin Bay. They run the races there for 6 years. I raced there 4 years. And Lossman used to close both dealerships, MG Motor Sales and Lossman Motors, for a week.
was that MG Motor Sales in Lakewood? Was that the one in Lakewood?
It started at Webb in Detroit.
Uh-huh.
And then Volkswagen wanted their dealerships at that time in '56 to go just single mark. So that's when they bought the dealership up on Madison. And then the Detroit store stayed just strictly Volkswagen.
Now, did you ever work at the MG?
I started at MG.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was. And then when they split up, I stayed with the
Is it true
Volkswagen.
those cars are so hard to tune or to keep them in tune? Those MGs, or no? Is that
Nope, I raced one.
You had no
drove
problems
one,
with them, huh?
and owned 4 of them.
Must have been the people that I knew that owned them. No, what?
Well, I worked at the dealers. Everybody wants to blame Lucas Electrics. They say the British drink warm beer because they had Lucas refrigerators. But in all the years I worked there, and I had 4 English cars, all had Lucas Electrics, and never had a minute's trouble with them. And most of the customers we had didn't have any trouble. I think the trouble started from about that time. You always had foreign car experts in the backyard or someplace like that, and they would do strange things to cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We call them hacks now, I think, don't we, Art?
Yeah.